So I'm supposed to be hosting this, which is a bit strange because I am, without a doubt, the least qualified person on this stage to host anything. So it's going to be a bit more of a free-for-all when we get started. However, one of the things I very much do want to say, they've got a slightly higher chair for me. That's nice, I look a bit taller. One of the things we do want to do, I'm slightly losing my train of thought here, is encourage questions from you guys. So please ask questions. Otherwise, you'll leave it up to us. And believe you me, we are really bad at this, or at least I am. So I'll need your help. So to kick things off,
I want to know what species of shark that PADI hat is. Steve Backshall. You're quite good at sharks, aren't you?
I'm going for blue shark because it's blue.
I'm looking at the gills and I'm counting 2. It's a 2-gill shark.
He said girls.
It's because I've got an exotic accent. Listen, honestly, we've been on stage, 3 minutes, and I'm already getting a hard time
I'll shut up now. I'm going to turn
Scottish.
my mic off.
I reckon we should get a Sharpie and draw an extra 3, 4 or 5 sets of gills on that hat.
Yes, is it annoying you that it's not biologically accurate? Yeah.
Spot the nerds.
Where's PADI? We'll have to complain to them. Is there anyone from PADI in the audience? Good, in that case, we're going to rip it into them now. Right, I'll start the show. So, first off, everyone's been busy. I think we've seen a lot of what people have been doing. What's coming up? Monty Halls.
I love it, by the way.
Apart from ushering it at my wedding.
Yeah. I love it when Torbs does these events because there's always an element of cuffing it. You can see as he's doing his intro, he's trying to think of a question. But that's a good question, mate. That is a good question.
Miranda gave it to me earlier on.
For us, it's, the Galapagos thing is just done. It's been delivered to the channel. It's going out now. Sort of pausing for breath. Got a few, we did the Dominican Republic thing, which I was mentioning to you, wasn't I, Steve, on stage? Amazing place in terms of the shipwrecks, in terms of there's a lot going on there. But we're off to Malaysia soon to do a thing about artificial reefs in Malaysia for discoveries. So, but that's coronavirus permitting, of course. So, that's in May. And then after that, we've got an acre of land in Devon that we're going to try and live off for a while for a series called One Green Acre. So there we go, that's us.
That's a really good idea. Fantastic. I've got another book out, actually. I've just released a book this last week all about birds. I was telling Steve about this earlier. I think he was a bit tired. So I said, I've got this sea book out. And he's like, yeah, okay. And I've got this birds book out. And he went, what's the birds book about? I was like, yeah, it's about birds. So I'm doing lots of literary festivals, lots of talks to school children and community groups and stuff like that. So I'm taking that on tour over the summer. And then lots of filming for the One Show. We didn't do very much diving last year for the One Show, so I'm going to sort that one out this year. We're always on the lookout for good stories, so if anybody's got any good stories for us, but we'll be around and about the British Isles filming for the One Show this year. So that's me.
It's interesting you mentioned, sorry to butt in for a second, Steve, that Steve's obviously got the twins who've just arrived.
Which he was just about to talk about.
Yeah, and 18 months, is it, your oldest. And so Steve, yesterday, you won't remember this, your comment about, what's your bird book about? It's baby brain, isn't it? And we had the identical conversation twice yesterday. Because you were tired. Yeah, you were so tired that we had almost...
To be fair to Steve, you're also very boring.
Almost identical conversation twice. I remember that is baby brain kicking. I remember that. So.
I have no idea what you're talking about. But,
who are you?
Yeah. So some of you, I don't know if any of you know, but I've just had twins. And I also have a... Have we talked about this before? No, the guys are absolutely right. I mean, mostly at the moment, I'm just involved in being a dad. I'm taking a couple of months off to have paternity. Do you have paternity? Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm not even speaking the same language anymore. But once that's done, I'm doing another series of expedition, which is essentially old-fashioned exploration, going to places that people haven't been to before. So we're going to try and make a first attempt of a whitewater river in Kamchatka. We have some exploration in Gabon in West Africa. And essentially, it's just going to be about trying to find animals in places where people haven't really looked for them before.
Have you got any diving stuff going on in that series?
There is. The first thing we're doing is diving. We're going looking for new undived seamounts, and hopefully undived wrecks as well. That's the first thing we're doing.
Whereabouts?
South of Mexico.
Nice.
Is that kind of broad enough?
Nice.
South of Mexico.
No, that's fine.
In the
Entire
southern
southern
hemisphere.
Is it warm?
It will be warm.
Nice. No one ever gets me to go anywhere warm.
Sorry, and Andy, what are you doing then? Tell us what you're doing, because you can't talk about your Bond movie. We know that. We've dealt with that.
Well,
What are you
it
doing
turns
this year?
out that I don't even know when it's out. Like, I thought it was out 10th of April, but you think it's out, I don't know.
Somebody told
it's
me
out
the
at some
3rd
point
of
early
April
April, I don't
or
know.
the
You'll see
2nd
the
of April.
posters. What am I doing?
Tell us about your YouTube channel.
Oh yeah, well, so let's see. I'm off to Morocco for a week at the end of March to do some free diving and paddleboarding stuff in southern Morocco, and then I'm taking the kids on holiday. They're 3 and 5, my kids. So we're gonna do we're gonna paddleboard from Spain to France, which sounds fairly epic, but actually we're just gonna start, a couple of miles south of the border and paddle round the Mediterranean to France, over the space like 10 days. And hopefully the oldest one is 5. He can start snorkeling. He can snorkel. So hopefully the 3-year-old, if I can get a mask small enough to fit him, I want to take him snorkeling as well. Because I think I've said it before on the talk yesterday with Monty that the first time I took my oldest snorkeling, you kind of forget, but he put a mask on, put his face in the water, and opened his eyes underwater, so he could see underwater for the first time, and it blew his mind. Which is just, and you forget actually how amazing that is if you've never done it before. So there's that, and then as Miranda says, I've just got involved in a new YouTube channel that does, it's like basically Top Gear for electric vehicles. So it's called Fully Charged, but as well as doing cars, they want to do motorbikes as well, and that's what they brought me in. But the first meeting, I was like, yeah, motorbikes are cool, but let's do boats, let's do submarines, let's do even DPVs and scooters, because they're all electric, which I'm really keen on. So hopefully I'll shoehorn some diving into that over the coming months. A couple of cave diving experts, one to Greece, one to France. They're not TV stuff, they're just exploration for its own sake. And then probably some more stunt work towards the end of the year. And TV-wise, I've got a couple of one-shows in. Again, no diving. But budgets being what they are, it's a little bit hard to shoehorn diving into the one show these days. And that's about it, I think.
We were saying to Torbs backstage, by the way, with the Bond stunt work thing, which we're all really intrigued about. Everyone's intrigued about it, aren't we? And hopefully next year you can really talk about it properly. One of the reasons Torbs got that is his amazing CV of all the climbing, caving, blah 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 he's got, but also because he bears a passing resemblance to Daniel Craig, and he really needs Daniel Craig to keep banging out the Bond films till he's like 80. We were saying backstage, and Torbs was like, yeah, he just needs to keep making them. And then,
Unfortunately, he has confirmed that he will not do any more. I know, I'm gutted.
There's talk of the next Bond being female.
Mate, yeah. Miz,
Well,
you're
how
up.
do you
You're
look
up.
in a wig?
Obviously I'm ex-forces, so, and as Monty will testify, I used to wear a lot of dresses. Occasionally still do. We'll leave that one there, I think, and move swiftly on.
Should we open this up to some questions? Has anybody got any burning questions for the 4 of us out there? Oh, yes, we have. Go on. Great. Excellent. You just have to... Oh, no, I was going to say you have to shout loudly, but we've got a very athletic Andy Torbet who's going to come towards you with a microphone.
Steve, what was your hardest animal to film in the Deadly 60?
Well, I'll stick with underwater because of where we are. What would be the toughest? Blue whales are really challenging, and I think that one of the reasons for that is that if you look at some of the toothed whales that have big brains and are highly communicative, quite often they'll take an interest in you. And if they do, then they might hang around for a few hours, and all of a sudden they become a dream to film. Whereas most of the other really large baleen whales, fins, say, blue whales, they just cruise past and they could not be less interested in you. And it's tricky, even with an animal the size of a blue whale, to try and get them in the same shot as you if they're traveling at 30 miles an hour in a different direction. So yeah, blue whales were super, super challenging. What about you lot?
I was going to say, how do you do it?
So-
there must be tactics, or do you is it just patience?
So the
and you waiting
tactics that are conventionally used are you get in a boat and you hare away ahead of it to where you think the whale is going to be, and you drop in the water and wait. And what we found out very, very quickly is that they are super, super sensitive to those boats. And if you do roar off in the distance in your boat, inevitably they'll change direction and they'll go in a different way. And the last thing you want to be doing is affecting the behavior of these whales at this critical portion of their lives. So what we ended up just doing was just sitting, waiting in the boat, and if anything came vaguely close, sliding over the side, super, super gentle and easy into the water, and hoping. And you know, it's not the best strategy for finding wildlife, just kind of dropping into the water and hoping something will turn up. But eventually it did, and it was, I mean, it's not the best wildlife sequence I've ever done, but there is a shot of me freediving down and this blue whale swimming past me, and there's no sense of scale until the last second when its tail flukes disappear past what looks like an ant in the frame. And it's me, and the tail is broader than this screen and this stage, and there's me just hovering alongside it. And so for that one shot, it was worth all that effort.
And how long did that take?
A week, I guess. It's a lot for a shot.
You'd never even get that on the one show. You got 1 day to do the whole film.
Because I was going to come up with an answer like cuttlefish, because cuttlefish are really difficult to film. When you get close to anything that's got jet propulsion, it's going to move in the opposite direction.
Cuttlefish are super difficult, apart from, have any of you done Port Lincoln off south of Australia?
Oh, the giant ones.
So there's, at the right time of year, giant cuttlefish come together to breed. And you get these huge giant cuttlefish, and they are enormous. They're this kind of size. And they'll all come together in huge numbers, hundreds and hundreds of them on the seabed, in shallow water, maybe 4 or 5 meters deep. And you can take a mirror up to the male cuttlefish underwater, show a mirror to a male cuttlefish, and it will display in the same way that it would do to another male. It turns sideways, it ripples these incredible movements through its body, and then the light show from the iridophores and chromatophores begin. And it's hypnotic, it's absolutely entrancing.
Well, I've got a random cuttlefish thing. I did my honours project at university in visual acuity in baby cuttlefish. It's very specialised, which ended up with me locked in a dark cupboard with a whole bunch of baby cuttlefish in an aquarium.
Is this a story you want to tell?
No, we're just trying to figure out how well they can see, and their eye is this miracle of adaptive, radiation and evolution. Yeah, their vision and their intelligence as well. There's something quite otherworldly about cuttlefish. They're pretty much my favourite animal in the UK.
In fact, I did we were going to one-upmanship on cuttlefish. I did a one show last year on cuttlefish. So it was cuttlefish while they're developing in the egg. So they managed to take off the outer layer of the egg that's died, so the inked layer, leaving a transparent layer so you can see the baby cuttlefish inside, and they can still pulse their chromatophores and still behave exactly like an adult cuttlefish. That was really remarkable and very, very beautiful.
It's always funny, by the way, that whenever you get people who sort of have done a bit of filming and have this background of filming, I find that everyone has a little bit of knowledge about something. Now, you've got, everyone here is obviously a qualified biologist or zoologist or whatever because of the diving thing. But you can almost mention any subject to a really old film crew, and someone will be like, and I thought I'm going to test it once on a shoot. I said to this old, hairy-bummed film crew that had been there and done it, been there, massively around the world 500 times. I said, I'm just going to say a word, and I want you to, and see how you react to it. And I went, Peter Ustinov, and the cameraman went, oh, lovely bloke. Just straight away, That was it was the most random thing I could think of. It was like, oh, lovely bloke.
I was just thinking about, filming cuttlefish. I think the hardest thing, I've got no cuttlefish stories, but I was thinking about you talking about filming cuttlefish when it's hard. It's hard because they're usually filmed off Barbican and the visibility is about 3 inches. That's what makes it difficult.
There is that.
Actually opposite to Steve. So we did the shoot for off California freediving with mako sharks, and we had 2 days, which is not that much time. Like Steve says, to get these sort of things, you want as much time as possible, like a week if you can. We had 2 days, like, that's not much time. The plan was you motor sort of 20 miles, 30 miles offshore, actually almost down really into Mexico waters. And the idea was to stop the boat and park up and just wait for like 10, 12 hours to see if we could get a mako to turn up. And we motored out, we stopped, we turned the engine off, and within about 4 minutes, a mako turned up. I jumped in, it hung around for like an hour until basically the cameraman was like, I can't shoot anything else. We got the boat and went home, and that was it. Done deal, took the next day off. Boom!
How often does that happen?
Once.
Never.
Hardest animal I've ever filmed is Isla and Molly. Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Right, any other questions from the floor, please? We've got loads. Let's start here.
Do you still think you have the passion when you're 99 years old?
Will we still have a passion when we're 99 years old?
Yeah.
If we're still alive. Oh, that's cheery. Without question. I think that one of the reasons that I love this job and this life so much is that I learn something every single day. And the natural world is just so vast. There is some kind of crazy fact that you're going to hear. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how much you think. Anybody that thinks they know everything about animals is wrong. They're just plain wrong. And you could learn for 100 lifetimes and you still wouldn't even scratch the surface with the natural world. There are people who study nothing but bat fleas for their whole life and they still don't know everything. I'm not even exaggerating. So yeah, I think the beauty of wildlife is that it is infinite in its complexity and you can learn forever and it will still surprise you.
You said a lovely thing earlier as well, that we're all explorers, you know, especially when we're divers as well, because so little is known about the marine environment when you think about it. So I think for all of us, our passion is just going to keep on continuing. And it'll probably get more and more as we get older as well, especially as we've all got kids now and we want to share it with children, not just our children, but other children as well. And that's really important. So we are so lucky. We love what we do. We get paid to do what we want to be doing every day. We get access to incredible places, incredible experiences, really knowledgeable and experienced scientists. It's amazing, isn't it?
I think it's quite interesting to sit here with the three of you. We're like some sort of aging band on a reunion tour. You know.
Speak for yourself.
But
I'm the drummer.
yeah. But I think the thing to remember, and interestingly, we've all known each other a very long time, haven't we? You know, it's amazing. You know, like 20 years, 15, 20 years. And the defining thing for everyone, I can say on the stage, was that I think everyone was really interested in the environment, in biology, in diving, in the animals, etc. But before the telly thing, if you see what I mean, that was the predominant thing, and the telly thing then came along, and that was. But I do think that it changes. It does change a bit. The curiosity's the same, everything's the same. We're all the same in that regard, I think. But certainly, big thing for me recently is being aware of what we've got in Britain. You know, we live in South Devon. We've got badgers, we've got foxes, we've got kingfishers, we've got the whole lot. And I sort of realised I haven't really looked at that side as much as I should. And maybe it's an urge to stay at home a little bit more because we've got kids now. But the UK, we've got so much in the UK.
Picking up on that and the way that your perspectives on nature change, this is going to sound like a massive cliche, but over the last few years, my perspective on the natural world has changed dramatically. First of all, from meeting my partner and all of a sudden wanting to take her to see all the things that I'd done as a 5 and 6 year old, you know, going out and looking for grass snakes in compost heaps and going out looking for kingfishers down the riverbanks. Seeing them through Helen's eyes was all of a sudden completely rejuvenating in my love for the commonplace in nature. And now what I'm looking forward to doing is the same with my kids. And you guys have already had that wonderful opportunity to see the light in your child's eyes when they see their first otter or surf their first wave or ride a horse down the beach for the first time. I am so excited about that opportunity.
I think the great thing about that, by the way, the funny thing, is they're full of surprises, the kids. So the story I was telling about this is I remember showing them their first giant tortoise in Galapagos. We stopped the car, there was one by the road, and I was like, kids, a living dinosaur, a living piece of history, an iconic animal, the living symbol of the conservation effort in Galapagos is right there. You know, that animal might have seen Charles Darwin, which isn't strictly true because they're 170 years is the oldest they live. But anyway, who worries about accuracy when you're talking to your little ones? And I was like, that animal might have seen Charles Darwin.
It's called lying.
It is called lying. And we looked at it for a while, and it just did what giant tortoises do. It's just basically stood there like that, and every now and then thought about moving, then was like, oh no, too much effort. And then, and after a while, Isla and Molly were like, doesn't do a lot. does it? And I was like, no, can we ride it? No, you can't ride it.
And unless they're mating, the first time I filmed them for the Really Wild show, we were super excited because you kind of like, oh, they really don't do very much. And here one is doing something. This is really cool. We'll film this sequence for children's television. And then you see the most obscene thing, the most obscene sound in the natural world. It's a kind of...
Could you do an impression?
We
kids
couldn't
in the
show a
audience.
single frame of it.
That sounded perfectly natural to me. I mean, I don't
You
know.
heard it here first. Steve Backshall's impression of mating daughters. Okay, do more questions?
What's the question? Yeah, yes. Another question.
Do you still think diving will be a thing in the next generation?
Absolutely, because there are people like you here at the dive show, and there are loads and loads of kids who are taking up diving. And we've met some people today who are going out and taking scouts and cubs diving. So absolutely, hopefully you guys are as inspired about diving and interested as we are. But part of our job is to inspire the next generation of divers, and so hopefully we're doing that.
I hope that when you go diving, like you go on like diving expeds, exploring the world, that the kit has moved on. It's really interesting that dive kit, Cousteau, and obviously, was it 1944, 45, Aqualung, regulator, fundamentally, dive kit hasn't moved on, and I would hope there's going to be oxygen-rich gels, there's going to be little contact lenses you put on, there's going to be little things you strap to your arms, whiz you through the sea and all that. So it becomes, even rebreather technology. Rebreather technology is the oldest diving technology in the world.
Yeah, rebreathers have been around since about the mid-1930s, the auction rebreathers. And again, essentially they haven't changed a huge amount in the last, quick calculation here, 80-something years, 85 years. One thing that I'm confident about is that I see more and more and more activity with young people when it comes to ocean conservation, more awareness, far more than my generation. So I think that, if you've got this mass movement within that younger generation towards ocean conservation and appreciation of what's happening, and the incentive and the kind of the energy to do something about it, I'm like, you know what, that's fine. Diving's going to be fine. If people care that much about that environment, they'll also want to go and visit and see it for themselves. So that's quite...
It was really interesting to in the last series, this series, seeing Molly, seeing the moment when she was on my back, we were swimming together, and then her face hit the water, and then off she went, 5 years old. That was it. I like, she's gone, And I started thinking about it. I thought, she's going to be a diver now. She's going to be a diver. She's never going to have any money. She's going to have a whole series of really unsuitable boyfriends. She's kind of, that's it. She's in that world now, And it was funny. I was like, is that a good thing? Yeah, I think it's a good thing. So.
Stereotyped divers there a little bit.
Right.
Another question?
Another question? Oh, God.
Monty, how difficult was it to dive Lake Ojokoto?
Lake Ojokoto. Now, yeah. Well, thank you for watching. That was a really, really interesting site. Now, one of the reasons it's really nice to talk about Lake Ojokoto is that Torbet was supposed to be going on that expedition. It is one of the best, most exciting, interesting expeditions I have ever been on. And it was just made all the sweeter by the fact that Torbs couldn't do it, so I could rag him about it forever.
The worst was, so I couldn't go on it because I meant to be filming this 6-week BBC series in the States. Fine, not a bad sacrifice to make. They cancelled it as I was driving to Gatwick Airport. I was on the M25. I was about an hour, half an hour from Gatwick Airport, and I got a text through from the series producer saying, yeah, it's been cancelled.
And around about that time, it was obviously about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, Torbs had two moods, angry or very angry. And it was incandescent. But basically, in a major project, 2 sinkholes in northern Namibia. There's the only really 2 sinkholes there. Lake Guinas and Lake Ojokoto. The interesting thing about Lake Ojokoto, it's got a safe with £25 million worth of gold in it. It's about 100 meters deep, and it was just incredible. It was difficult to get to. We had to use a winch to get all the kit in and out, totally in the middle of nowhere, in the bush, you know. It was a really, really special project. And we didn't find the gold, obviously, because otherwise I probably would be sitting on a sofa at Go Diving. I'm not quite sure I'd be, but it was incredible. It felt like proper exploration. The amazing thing is at the bottom of it was the retreating German army dumped all their gear in it. So it's 1915, and at the bottom, because it's a sinkhole and there's very little aerobic activity down there, everything's preserved perfectly. And so it's a museum. You go down there, it's a museum to an army, a vanquished army of 1915. It's just amazing, you know. So, yeah, so the gold is still in there. You asked about the future of diving. That's one reason to keep diving. The gold is still in there. And it's almost definitely in there. It's almost definitely.
Another question.
Another question, yes.
The programmes and projects that you do, are they all from your own ideas, or do you do what the producers tell you?
I'll kick things off. Well, the vast majority, in fact, I think all the one shows I've ever done for the one show have been my ideas. Beyond Bionic was my idea. Operation Iceberg, Cloud Lab, and the archaeology thing in Orkney where they approached me, so it's a kind of mix of both. And when you're on these things, I'm sure we'll all touch on this, it can be frustrating sometimes, because sometimes the sort of the producers, the people, the makers, if you will, of the TV program, have got a fixed idea of what they want from this sequence or this series or this episode. Unfortunately, sometimes they're not divers, they're not zoologists, so what they want actually isn't accurate. You've then got to try and struggle to make what they want you to make, but without it being not true.
I would say that ideas are the primary currency in the media. They're the most valuable thing, something you can't put a price on. And most people that are in our position have got there because of ideas. It's quite rare that you find someone who is just a figurehead who's kind of flown in at the last moment to do that kind of job. It's probably because they've come up with the idea, they've run with it, they've researched it and taken it through to fruition. I'm pretty sure that's true for all four of us. So almost all of our ideas, the things that we film, will come from us.
It's just worth saying, actually, that the guys might be probably a lot better than me, but I reckon I get one idea through for every 200 I pitch. It's literally the attrition rate, the rejection rate is phenomenal.
I'd almost say it's one of the predominant qualities of getting on in the business, again, for the young people, if you want to get on in this business, is the ability to handle rejection. Because you're all the time, you're just rejected all the time, you know.
In all things in life.
In all things,
rejected
yeah.
all the
Often
time,
you'll be
yeah.
sitting with the TV commission, they'll be like, no, Steve Backshall's already doing it. So, you know, but no, honestly.
God damn Steve Backshall.
But also really
and you just have
fighting-
to head off and regroup, have a think about it, have a cup of tea, and then go again, you know.
Of also fighting to keep your idea, and the credibility of your idea. You were saying sort of, that you come up with this great idea and somebody will want to tweak it and make it more telly sort of friendly, and you're actually, but this is the story that I want to tell, and you've got to. It's that balance with how much do I just dig my heels in and really fight for what I believe in, the idea that I've come up with, and how much do I want to have it on screen, so I'll let them have the artistic license to sort of edit it their way, and that's really hard actually. Editorial control, I think that's a really difficult thing, because a lot of things happen out in the field that are filmed that you might not want to go on screen, or it might be easy to manipulate it and tell a slightly different story, and one that again is not maybe exactly true. And a lot of us don't really have editorial. I don't know about you, but we don't have editorial control. A lot of the stuff that I film, I don't actually see the edited version until I'm sitting in a booth recording the commentary. And there have been moments when I've looked at the edited piece and think, oh my God, but that's not right. That's not, and then you have this battle with somebody who's probably a lot more influential than you are. And so, yeah, that can be quite difficult.
I think we're all sort
sometimes,
of greybeards now in the business, and
I don't have a beard.
and all a bit more philosophical. And a great example recently was I emailed Steve about this amazing piece of technology called Shark Guard. It's coming out. It's basically stopping sharks getting caught on long lines as bycatch. I emailed Steve and I was like, mate, let's go and film it. Sea Dog, you can come and film it with us. And Steve came straight back and was like, well, mate, I'm already looking at a shark project. And now you've told me about Shark Guard, this thing, and I don't know what to do. I'm in the horns of a dilemma, And I think nowadays, I'm sure you feel the same. I'm a lot more philosophical now about the important thing with Shark Guard is getting the story told out there. And, you know, I don't mind spreading the ideas around a bit more and chatting a bit more about it. And I'm a lot less worried about it than I used to be. You know, I don't know how you guys feel. Yeah.
I think we've got time for 2 more questions. So the very enthusiastic man there.
Steve, what is your most memorable moment of filming?
My most memorable moment, I think, over the last couple of years, there was one particular special program that we did in Borneo, where most of my stories in Borneo over the last 10 years have been quite depressing ones. It's a place that I've seen change dramatically since I started going there, and not for the better. And we were setting to do a jungle expedition there, heading into caves in one particular part of Borneo, and I was feeling really down about it because I kind of figured that the message at the end of the program would be Borneo is in big trouble. And what we found instead was a vast area, an area the size of Holland, that was still perfect, pristine forest. Inside that forest, we found caves that were unknown to modern human beings, but inside them was primitive artwork that was at least 40,000 years old. And we were the first people in modern times to see it. And to see myself and my crew of you know, kind of really tough people, the scientists that we were working with as well, on the brink of tears because they were experiencing this for the very first time in this one remaining jewel in this mostly deforested island was something I will never, ever forget. And just that emotion from everyone, you know, was really, really special. So I think that would be my most memorable moment of the last couple of years. What about you guys?
Oh, easy one for me. Isla and moles. It's cheesy. I know it's cheesy. But Isla and moles snorkeling for the first time. And we just got... The Guardian described the series as a dangerous precedent in holiday videos. And we were so lucky to have a crew there. We were so lucky to record that moment. It's a moment we'll never forget. And see the little ones get in the water and have a turtle come up and look at them. It's just blew anything I'd ever done, it just blew it away. So, yeah, that was it for me.
I think I'd echo the diving thing, actually. Having my entire family underwater on scuba for the first time was amazing. Ever since I had my second child, it was like I couldn't wait until he was 8 and he could actually put a regulator in his mouth and go underwater, and we could all be there holding hands together, and that was just such a dream come true. So it's not necessarily an incredible encounter with a huge marine mammal, but actually something really close to my heart was just being in the water with my family and seeing my children falling in love with this beautiful marine environment. So we're all soppy parents, aren't we? But I'm afraid it's just that's what it's like with kids.
There's been quite a few. I think what I appreciate sometimes is that working in TV, I've got to do things that otherwise I would never have been able to do. Money can't buy. So you want to be like diving in an ice cave in Greenland, and even back home in the UK, climbing Britain's tallest tree for the one show. It sounds quite, it's one of those things that no one has ever climbed Britain's tallest tree before. And I was allowed to got permission because we're filming for the BBC to climb to the top to measure Britain's tallest tree. And that's things you can only do because, you're filming it for the BBC or you're working in telly. So it's things like that, those opportunities that you would otherwise never get to do are quite cool.
What about Lake Ojikoto? Oh, no, you didn't come, did you? Oh.
Sorry. Can you turn off mic 3, please? Okay, guys, we've got one last question. This lady's put her hand up so many times. Oh, no, yes, no, okay, well, in that case, you're in.
I'm currently looking at doing my dissertation title. What areas do you believe are under-researched that would be good for a university student?
How to make money from diving.
Was that a dissertation?
Yes.
Was that what areas are most under-researched?
Yes.
Oh my God. Well, most in the marine environment.
The effects of trawling on deep sea environments. I'm not sure how you would go about researching it, but having seen what happens with trawlers in relatively shallow seas and the destruction that that results from that, trying to get some kind of idea of what is happening to the biggest environment on our planet due to deep sea fishing. I think it's
and dredging.
I have a feeling that the results will be incredibly depressing, but that is a huge area of research out there.
I think, for me, one of the really interesting things that's emerging is there's research being done into it, but when we were looking at the effect of microplastics on the marine environment, there was the knock-on effect of the microplastics on the marine environment on us, the effect on us. We ingest 60,000 pieces of microplastic a year from eating from the marine environment, basically, if you eat fish. So, and research is just being done at the moment about the long-term impact on us. And the reason I think that's significant is if you can get some decent findings from that, suddenly people get highly motivated to do something about microplastics in the marine environment. We haven't got this godlike status of it doesn't affect us, and it's directly affecting our health. And the long-term impact of that is still being assessed. And I think that'd be a really interesting thing to look at.
I was going to make some quip about the oxygen gel that Monty was talking about to make us breathe underwater, but actually,
the little zoomy thing that you
I
put on
think
your
I think
wrist
Monty has hit the nail on the head. If you can get some really incontrovertible evidence that because people will start caring a lot more when it affects them, not the oceans and the planet. It's all a bit abstract for most people, unfortunately. If you say what's happening is making you unhealthy, then suddenly they start getting off their arse and do something about it. So I think that's actually a really good answer by Mons. Pained as I am to see it.
Or how Boris Johnson and Donald Trump happened. How that happened. I still don't know how that happened.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for sticking with us to the very end of the weekend. So we'll be back again next year for another Go Diving show. I think the date's going to change. I think it's going to be mid-March, but just keep an eye on the website, and the sort of PR will be coming out towards the end of this year and the beginning of next year. We'll hopefully see you again in about 12 months' time, but apart from that, I'll just finish off by saying thank you very much to Steve, Miranda and Monty, and thank all of you. Safe travels. We'll see you again next year.